Good news. After the game ends, you will receive a reward of 1 billion. Bad news. These billions are cryptocurrencies. Cui Rou. Why? Because in reality, you were killed by an explosion just now. Cui Rou. Buying back 30 minutes of survival time with 10 billion yuan, she wants to reverse the outcome and survive. So it was killed in the box. She was packed into a box and given to her fiance A. Fiance, where did she find her fiance A? As an abandoned orphan. SOS. She passes levels and slays in the game world, and the crosser uses her body to perform cannon fodder and vicious female supporting missions. As a result, she not only became entangled in black material, everyone shouted and fought, formed enemies with 108 families, but was ultimately killed by the explosion. Cui Rou. I'm so special. Originally, she had achieved success and retired, and with the prize money, she could spend her whole life squandering. The result cannot be stopped. Then we can only do it. So is my fiance a good looking? It is said that having broad shoulders and narrow waist is invincible and beautiful. Fraud. The esteemed CEO of the most powerful tycoon in the imperial capital, Jean Guifu, has a dark and abstinent belly. He doesn't even touch a single strand of a woman's hair and doesn't even recognize this marriage. Rumor has it that he will die if he touches a woman. Then, give it a try, Fu Chenxiao said with a slightly darkened gaze and a smirk. Cui Rou. 1v1, double strong, main female lead, Shuangwen, keywords of the novel. After returning, I became a cannon fodder level malicious female supporting character without pop-ups. After returning, I became a cannon fodder level malicious female supporting character. Download the complete text. After returning, I became a cannon fodder level malicious female supporting character. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Returning as cannon fodder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Returning as cannon fodder. Dee dee. The sound of the time bomb's handwriting rang in my ears. As the sound stimulates every nerve. Cui Rou woke up from her body, unable to lift herself, and her head was in a daze. She spoke with a sound of grass. Just the voice was too weak and gentle, evoking a fragile and lovable feeling. There is no fierce killing in the gaming world. The system was holding back and couldn't help but laugh. Puff. It only takes so long to transform from a wolf to a sheep. Cui Rou's ethereal eyes focused, and although her body was still weak, her voice regained some momentum. Believe it or not, I'll leave you here to explode into pieces with the bomb. The system trembled with fear and apologized decisively. I'm sorry, my sister, I just think you. You're cute. Do you still use your words? Still so straightforward. System sub. Cute sister, remind you that there are still 30 minutes left before the explosion. But there are no tools in this suitcase. Think of a way quickly. Cui Rou was indeed trapped in a suitcase, in a posture of being placed in one place without being moved. She curled up with a time bomb placed close to her head. The time above is counting down and walking. Time is quite abundant. 29 minutes. But there is nothing else in the box. Cui Rou's head was still drowsy and feverish, and she calmed down with her brows and eyes. Systemic, are you trying to ruin my 1 billion reward and deliberately come to play with Ian? She entered the gaming world at the age of 15 and spent nearly 4 years clearing games such as Strange Tales, Apocalypse Survival, and Advanced Planet Hunting. She won the real-world title of being hit by a car accident, brain repair, limb repair. Finally, she received a high bonus. 1 billion is enough for her to spend her whole life. Retire after achieving success, have a healthy body, and do what you should do in the real world. As a result, a person named the Crosser entered her body and performed a malicious female supporting mission. In just 1 year, she went from being a sick person who took a break from school and didn't socialize, to becoming a popular female internet celebrity who was known for her 18-line skills. She kept acting as a demon and became enemies with 108 families. She also adopted a child and allowed the outside world to spread rumors about her young age and chaotic private life, giving birth to a child. She also made suggestive remarks about having children out of wedlock. She is not yet 19 years old, can she still produce a 4-year-old child? Don't be too outrageous. The traveler not only found out the parents who abandoned her and formed their own families within a year, but also stirred up entangled relationships. He even used a token to get involved with the heir of the Fu family's first tycoon, Fu Chinchao. The decisive and ruthless CEO of the Fu family, and the top financial magnate with the imperial capital in high regard. The interloper used a token engagement as a threat and infiltrated a high-end banquet in a wealthy family, publicly slapping the daughter of the future family alliance rumored by Mr. Fu. Afterwards, he was trapped in his luggage and used gifts and explosives to enter the luxurious cruise ship hosted by Fu, resulting in a true cannon fodder finale. It was blown up in the sea. What shattered cannon fodder? The intruder was forced to complete the task ahead of schedule and run away. If it weren't for their own way out, they would have gone straight ahead. The system quickly explained, "My sister, it's a big injustice. This was not caused by our game's alien bureau. It's the pot over there in the quick penetration strategy area. Maybe it's because of a car accident, you've been bedridden for a long time and you're extremely weak, which has led to a bug and a loophole." Sigh. Sister. There are only 25 minutes left. Cui Rou felt the sound of the suitcase being carefully pushed, and the next step was to be thrown into the sea without even opening it. Then there was the countdown explosion. The time seems to have advanced. Cui Rou was already curling up and moving inside the box. She had confirmed that the box was locked with a password lock from the outside, and pushing and pulling the lock would not open it. She had already removed a long needle earring from her ear and held it carefully to avoid touching the explosive device. The system exclaimed, "Grass." It was at least 20 minutes early. I was thrown out of the sea by Mr. Fu's assistant in a critical moment when the explosives were about to explode. Don't panic. Don't learn from me when it comes to plants. System sub. Dot. A sound of grass almost popped out again. It was surprised. "My sister, why are you pricking your brows? What a tough move." Cui Rou used her earrings and long needles to forcefully thrust into her eyebrows, bleeding profusely, wrinkling his brows. He also pricked various acupoints on his body, and the chaotic heat in his mind seemed to have gained a hint of clarity. She took advantage of the situation and used earrings to cut open the zipper of the suitcase. A bright light shone through the gap, and in the situation where people outside seemed to be aware, she gathered all her strength and pushed open the suitcase lid with her hand. Assistant Yu, who was bending down to handle the suitcase with caution, still changed his expression and quickly bounced back. "No bounce. Draw your gun at the same time." The girl who emerged from the box quickly caught her wrist. "Take the gun from his waist." Yu Jiang was shocked and shook off her hand with her backhand, holding onto her waist to grab the gun. But he was suddenly stabbed by a fierce needle and instinctively shook his hand, and the pistol on his waist was taken away. "Oh no. Threat is approaching." Yu Jiang quickly stopped in front of Fu Chinchao, the first tycoon in the imperial capital. He couldn't believe that this was the woman who had harassed Mr. Fu 3 times and had a lot of evil deeds. However, in this moment of crisis, Fu Chinchao remained indifferent and lazy, sitting on the sofa seat and lighting a cigarette. He has a superior appearance, a naturally noble temperament, strong and dark eyebrows, and an unfathomable demeanor. "Do you think you can escape?" He bit his cigarette and said coldly. Cui Rou tilted her head and looked at him, not deceiving anyone. She was indeed good-looking. But it doesn't seem to be the point. She raised her hand while hooking her pistol and said, "Don't be nervous. I am invincible to Mr. Fu. I just did this for self-protection. I am also a chess piece that was caught up in, otherwise I would have shot the time bomb in this box, wouldn't it have ended long ago?" Although Cui Rou pricked the acupoints in the center of her eyebrows, her face still turned red, especially her apricot-eyed eyebrows, which were heavily enchanted. A kind of ultimate delicate and soft unconsciousness is unconsciously released. Fu Qianxiao lowered his gaze and looked at her coldly, with cigarette smoke lingering around him. "What do you want? There are only 18 minutes left. The time bomb has only 18 minutes left. I just want to live." Cui Rou's face was dripping with hot sweat, and her breathing was hot. She focused on maintaining her clarity and said, "Give me a bottle of water, some simple tools to dismantle the bomb and a knife." Yu Jiang was extremely anxious. At this critical moment, he said, "What else are you demolishing? Hurry up and throw it into the sea. Besides, who would believe that someone from an orphanage would even bomb her? It is estimated that love breeds hatred, and there is a conspiracy to fight with one's life." Cui Rou saw through his thoughts and didn't pay attention. Instead, she asked the person sitting on the sofa, "There's no evidence when something is thrown into the sea. Don't you want to find out who made all of this? And I will dismantle it. If you don't believe me, you can leave and hide first, there are only 16 minutes left." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Climbing High Branches, Who Doesn't Want to? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Climbing High Branches, Who Doesn't Want to? Fu Qianxiao bit a cigarette and got up from the sofa, throwing a bottle of water and a knife over one after another. Cui Rou quickly took it, glanced at him, and then said to Yu Jiang, "Do you know that's the smart person?" Yu Jiang frowned in anger, "Right." Fu Qianxiao didn't have any unnecessary reactions. Cui Rou quickly twisted open the purified water and poured down half of it. Water stains dripped from the corner of her mouth, and she ignored them. Then, she poured the remaining half of the bottle of water down her head. Water dripped down from her hair, streaking her skin and wetting the off-shoulder dress she was wearing. The large area of skin on the chest was stained with water and powder, making it look a bit dazzling. But she didn't pay much attention and reached out to wipe the water off her face, feeling her mind clearer. "What's wrong with Yu Jiang? He's speechless. Is this what smart people do? Still in this ink stain? Go get the toolbox." Fu Qianxiao gave a command, and Yu Jiang restrained his expression and followed the instructions. Under any decision made by Mr. Fu, although there are doubts and concerns in his heart, he unconditionally executes it. There are only the two of them left in the room of this luxurious ship. Fu Qianxiao walked towards her and stood at a distance from Cui Rou. "You seem very confident. Give it a try." Cui Rou threw the pistol aside and began studying the bomb. Before bringing the toolbox, if not, she would use a knife to solve it. She started dismantling it with a knife. Every step is very calm and quick, as if you are familiar with it. Not inferior to the visual perception of any bomb disposal expert. Fu Qianxiao said coldly, "Bet your life. Miss Cui is really brave. Mr. Fu is not the same, he trusts people like me." Fu Qianxiao shook the cigarette ash in his hand and leaned against one side, looking cold and lazy. "If you can't dismantle it in the last 5 minutes, throw it into the sea," he said. Cui Rou unloaded the bomb and looked at the internal assembly structure without even lifting her head. "You seem to have some idea who designed it, do you?" she asked Fu Qianxiao. "Leaving yourself aside." Cui Rou. "I was also tricked, and I will investigate this matter myself." Fu Qianxiao said, "What you have done before doesn't necessarily mean you can get rid of it." Cui Rou's subordinates didn't stop, just casually asked, "Is our engagement real?" Fu Qianxiao held his cigarette but remained silent. Is it a child's love promised by their parents? Can childhood events be counted? But there is a token present. It cannot be regarded as non-existent. Cui Rou's mouth curved slightly. She didn't care about any engagement or not. She has thoroughly studied this bomb, which is somewhat complex, but compared to the high difficulty in the game world, it can only be said that it is not in the same dimension. She picked a thread and cut it with a knife. She glanced sideways at the man behind her and said, "I'm going to cut it, won't you avoid it?" Fu Chenxiao glanced at the countdown on the bomb and froze it at 10 minutes. Someone is knocking outside the door. He threw the cigarette in his hand into the ashtray and extinguished it. "If you're still alive, you can sit down and talk about engagement," he said. Cui Rou. "Ha! Is this Fu not playing cards according to the routine?" Fu Chenxiao has already opened the door and closed it. Outside the door, Yu Jiang was a bit skeptical as he held the toolbox and said, "Mr. Fu, is that enough to let that woman in? Don't even need the tools anymore. Just wait, she can't escape either." Fu Chenxiao quickly swiped his phone with his fingers, leaving a safe distance. There seems to be a premonition as well. The guy inside can indeed do it. 10 minutes have passed, whether it's cutting or not, and the bomb has reached its scheduled time. It's time to explode. But not really. That is to say, the bomb was successfully dismantled. The door opened and there was no one inside. The windows of the luxurious guest room are open, but there are people underneath who cannot escape. That means the person is still in this room. Fu Chenxiao noticed that all the room temperature bottled water on the table had been emptied. The bottle was thrown on the ground. The bathroom door is closed. There is no sound of water flowing, but people are inside. He stood outside the bathroom door, unsure if she was dodging or playing some tricks. "Miss Cui, can you come out and talk now?" she exclaimed in a deep voice. "Wait for me, the medicinal effect will dissipate in a while." Cui Rou's voice came out, giving off a damp feeling of water vapor. "Grandpa, the medicine is really powerful. If it weren't for her stabbing the acupoint, drinking a lot of water to induce vomiting, she might have already pounced on Mr. Fu. Her mother who abandoned herself is really skilled in human affairs." Upon hearing these words, Fu Chenxiao thought of her previous physical reaction, her face blushing and her eyes tinged with a seductive aura, and roughly guessed it. He lowered his long eyebrows and turned to the hall, reigniting a cigarette. "Command Yu Jiang, who was hesitant, let someone go down and investigate the dismantled thing, and follow the clues to determine if it was done by the old fox." "Yes. And hold your gun." Yu Jiang's expression stiffened, and he immediately took something and went out. Cui Rou took a cold shower and changed into clean clothes. "Whose clothes?" "Of course it's Mr. Fu's expensive shirt. After all, my off-the-shoulder short skirt is all wet, and I can't compare it to the previous emergency situation. If I have clean clothes, I will change them." She came out wearing Mr. Fu's shirt, and because there was a significant height difference between the two, it was not a problem to wear it completely as a shirt-skirt. But Fu Chenxiao's eyes were cold and clearly displeased. The overall breath is very low and cold. Cui Rou was the first to explain, "If you were a gentleman, a shirt shouldn't be much, right? After all, my skirt has gotten wet, and you don't want someone with an untidy outfit sitting across from you talking, do you?" Fu Chenxiao doesn't like people touching his things, especially women. But she didn't say anything more. After all, she made sense. Compared to women with disheveled clothes approaching him, it is more full of strong disgust and resistance. Fu Chenxiao crossed his legs and leaned back, waving coldly. "Sit there and confess all your plans for coming here today," he said. He pointed to the farthest sofa position for her. Cui Rou raised her eyebrows and said, "Oh, she's really not close to women. I heard that touching a woman can lead to death." The CEO of the abstinence department. After sitting down, she covered her slender legs with a blanket on the side. She said calmly to him, "You know, because of the intimate relationship between adults, Ms. Li is very concerned that I can climb up the high branch of your Fu family. This is her only opportunity after her wealthy husband passed away and her wealthy wife went bankrupt and became an ordinary person. And I was also drugged without my knowledge, and then entered the box, as you know. As for Ms. Lee, I guess she was also taken advantage of. After all, if I were to be killed by the explosion, her dream of returning to a wealthy lady's life would be shattered, and the people behind the scenes probably still have a grudge against you. Fu Qinxiao looked at her apricot-eyed face, which had faded red and was very pale and soft, not like telling lies. But he was smoking a cigarette and staring at her. Are you really not selfish yourself? There is probably also some. Cui Rou thought for a moment and smiled, with a token as evidence, climb a high branch. Who wouldn't want this? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Not taking your body into account. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Not taking your body into account. A person who cannot approach beauty, this engagement is equivalent to survival in name. That's great for her. She needs Fu Qinxiao's financial power to do something. Fu Qinxiao is not someone who can be influenced by the fact that his parents have arranged for him to be a child. And, his parents have already passed away, and all three of the parties involved have passed away. If they don't recognize him, what can they do with the power of the Fu family? But grandma is very concerned about his marriage. Especially in carefully selecting candidates. But the elderly also listen to his uncle's advice on how to arrange unnecessary people for him, which is not what he wants to see. And his grandmother has been feeling unwell lately, bedridden, and he doesn't want her to worry about it. So I wanted to choose a suitable and unobstructed candidate myself. And the person in front of me has a huge contrast from before. Today's physical reaction and the sense of control made him feel different. If it is confirmed that she is not from Uncle Air's side and there is a token as evidence, it is natural for her to be engaged. To get engaged to me, I must confirm if you are a qualified person. And, what I want to remind is that here, I don't get any love, it's just an engagement contract. Cui Rou understood that top-level wealthy people are very skilled at playing. And she is also very good at playing in the gaming world. Isn't the virtual marriage contract the most in line with her heart? Don't worry, I can only be myself, definitely not someone else's tool. And I will also investigate the people who want to kill me. Finally, I don't care about your body, I only care about your high branch power. As a confirmation of the engagement contract transaction, I also hope you can help me with something. Fu Qinxiao had thick black eyebrows and extremely cold eyes, scanning towards her. She was very calm, and if it was a performance, her acting skills would be almost top-notch. Which one exactly is Miss Cui? I know. Cui Rou shook her head, her small face pale and innocent, sighing, I can only say that at the critical moment of life and death, I understood. Do you understand? Fu Qinxiao pressed his eyebrows lightly, his slender fingers holding a cigarette, and he raised his chin. I will contact you again in a week, he said. Cui Rou stood up and said, I'm waiting for your good news. By the way, you probably don't need this shirt anymore, do you? Fu Qinxiao glanced up, his eyebrows and eyes pale, here you are. Cui Rou stroked and ironed the clothes, which were smooth and made of high-quality materials, and deliberately praised them, you are truly Mr. Fu, generous. She smiled delicately and pure, making Fu Qinxiao's expression even more indifferent. Both sides had a relatively smooth conversation. Get off the ship in 3 days. Cui Rou was temporarily arranged in another room and hardly ever came out again. Almost isolated from the outside world. The system confirmed that the cannon fodder crisis was resolved and there was no danger at the moment, so they said goodbye to her. My sister Wu Wu, I'll miss you. I'll come find you when there's a new game. Farewell, I'm afraid my home will be stolen again one day. Damn it, it's just weird. Hurry up and cross the world to get a bug. The system carefully reminds you. Sister, after your physical fitness recovers, you can try the rune paper summoning technique learned in the game world. Maybe you can really succeed, and it can be useful in the future. I know. Cui Rou patted its head with a gentle gesture and said, let's go ahead in a daze. System sub. Woo woo woo. Such a gentle sister, so reluctant to part ways, finally wanting to leave. Don't cry, roll slowly. Humph. The system's pitiful tears converged and flashed decisively. Cui Rou slept for 3 days and felt her whole body recover its energy and energy. The fists she swung out were also very powerful. Before disembarking, Yu Jiang delivered the clothes and dresses. It's the set she changed into in Fu Qinxiao's bathroom before, which has been dry cleaned and very clean. Perhaps Fu Qinxiao didn't want to see her disembark like this wearing his shirt. I don't want to get involved in too many relationships before confirming my engagement. She understands. Moreover, Cui Rou was arranged to leave by someone else, and her actions were not conspicuous. Returning to her current house, the traveler moved from the small county town of Jiangqing to the imperial capital. A high-end apartment rented. A year of extravagance as a demon has added frost to the bank cards that were originally in debt. Cui Rou was originally living with her good friend who grew up in an orphanage in a small rental house in a small county town in Jiangqing, but the traveler broke up her only good friend by crying and tormenting her. And that friend genuinely took care of her with the director of the welfare home during the days when she was unconscious in a car accident. Cui Rou took a deep breath and went upstairs to open the door. A 2-bedroom, 1 living room apartment with an open kitchen, with children's toys piled up on the sofa, she suddenly remembered that there was still a 4-year-old child living here. Characterized by the outside world as her illegitimate child. This time should be when I go to kindergarten. Cui Rou found a phone in her handbag in the room and opened it to see many missed calls. The person who played the most this week was Lu Gu from the live streaming union. And some information. Cui Rou, don't pretend to be dead for me. Where did you go missing? Do you know that you missed such a good opportunity? You dare to stand up for Mr. Zhang. You're just looking for death. If you don't want to do it, just wait for the penalty to be paid. Repeating these threatening insults. At this moment, the sound of someone verifying the password to lock the door suddenly came from outside the door. Cui Rou turned around and walked out of the room. When she arrived at the living room, she saw Li Yume pushing the door and carrying something in. Li Yume abandoned her mother and divorced her father when she was 2 years old. They clearly left her in an orphanage in a small county town under Jiangqing. Then they formed their own families. After the traveler found them, she tried to use the pretext of being abandoned to ask them to compensate her. After receiving compensation from them, he humiliated them again. Cui Rou felt that this kind of revenge was meaningless to her, and she didn't need this delayed recognition or compensation. It's best never to see each other again, to be like strangers for a lifetime. However, it has already been stirred up, so there is no need for trouble. Li Yume maintained the delicate attire of a wealthy lady. When she saw her return, she quickly placed the things in her hand at the entrance and asked nervously. Ruru, you finally came back. How did you do? Did you do it? I couldn't board the ship at that time, and you forgot to put your handbag inside. I haven't heard from you yet. Mom is so anxious. I almost got blown up to death. Cui Rou spoke calmly, watching her reaction. Li Yume was startled at the sound and said, What? She suspected that she had misheard. Isn't it delivered as a gift? What went wrong? And a fire broke out. Cui Rou pushed herself forward and stared at her with sharp eyes. To be honest, who made you board the cruise ship in this way of gifting a box? Who took the box from your hand and sent it to you? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Revenge Back. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Revenge Back. Li Yume was a little flustered by her suddenly fierce gaze and unconsciously stepped back. It's my best friend, Aunt Wang. She suggested that someone she knows works on a cruise ship and can easily send you in. What's going on? There is a bomb in the box. Cui Rou's mouth curved with a hint of mockery and she said, what a great friend. Give me your contact information, I want to see her. Li Yumei clearly didn't believe it yet, her face trembling as she said, how could it be? How could it be? Is there something wrong? Give you 1 minute and give me her phone number. Cui Rou averted her gaze and turned to walk towards the room, opening a computer in the room. Sit down and start operating. Li Yumei came to her senses and knew that this matter was very serious. Has it also angered Fu Qinxiao, the heir of the Chabel, as a result? She held it in her throat in one breath, her voice trembling. Soft. How could Aunt Wang let someone put a bomb in the box? Would Fu Qinxiao, who opened the box at the time, treat you as someone who was killing him? Cui Rou tapped on the computer, hardly looking at her. I'm sorry, your dream of being a wealthy lady is about to be shattered again. Li Yumei suddenly became anxious when she was exposed to the central issue. Ruru, how could you look at Mom like that? I'm worried about your safety. This is all framing. You must make it clear to Fu Qinxiao. I didn't recognize you. Cui Rou's expression was very cold, and the computer in front of her started a new program. She glanced sideways and said, what are you standing for? Li Yumei felt that her daughter seemed to have changed. Although she had a bad language and attitude before, she didn't have such a stranger-like attitude. Especially when these eyes are fixed on people, although Xingyan's gentle appearance is evident, there is an invisible hint of a mischievous and creepy person. She quickly took out her phone and flipped over Wang Jinglan's phone number to her. Ruru, tell your mother, what did Fu Qinxiao do to you? Did the medicine work? Are you still thinking about Mr. Fu and not giving up? Cui Rou was too lazy to say to her again, leave me, I don't want to see you. Ruru you. Li Yumei wants to get angry, and she doesn't know how this happened. It was a good thing to send someone to her door, how could it be messed up? But she doesn't want to offend this daughter, this is her only chance to return to being a wealthy lady. Ruru, Mom knows you're not in a good mood and you've been wronged. Mom won't disturb you anymore. I'll go find Wang Jinglan to settle the accounts. She actually wants to sabotage our family's good deeds in secret, she said, holding her breath. Cui Rou ignored her, and Li Yumei wanted to say something more, but had to awkwardly stroke her delicate hair and leave. The house is now clean. Cui Rou entered Wang Jinglan's phone number into the computer, and with one operation, she checked Wang Jinglan's personal information, bank income, contact phone number for the past month, and communication records. After filtering through the numbers, there is a number called Fan Gu that has been in the most frequent contact lately. Following the investigation, Fan Gu is a small thug with someone on top. A person named Chang Gu. Cui Rou has been engaged in identity activities by passers-by for a year, all of whom are in the entertainment industry and surrounding people within the live streaming industry, but she has never offended such a leader. That is to say, when it comes to this, there are so many grievances within the circle of wealthy families, which are all aimed at Fu Qinxiao. Presumably, Fu Qinxiao has already been traced. But the grudge of her being planted with a bomb has to be reported by herself. Cui Rou first pulled out all the asset flows of Wang Jinglan outside the bank, confirming that they were involved in some tax avoidance projects and illegal activities such as money laundering. Afterwards, under her real name, she used the identity of Li Yumei to report everything. Li Yumei was about to confront Wang Jinglan when an investigator approached her in the coffee shop. The speed is really fast. Both of them were dumbfounded. And Chang Gu is involved in his industries. The location must be concealed. So Cui Rou spent the whole afternoon to evening, blocking all the surveillance queries within Chang Ji's activity area, and found everything. Several business establishments were reported in a timely manner and the current situation was arrested. These people, if they directly cause serious losses to their interests, will be like taking their lives. Cui Rou closed her eyes and stretched lazily, feeling extremely hungry. It's already dark outside. There were new missed calls again, so she turned off the mute because she was afraid of being disturbed. The note on the phone is Teacher Fong from Sunshine Kindergarten. Damn it. I forgot about this incident, and there's also a 4-year-old kid. Cui Rou stared at her phone with calm eyebrows and eyes, tapping her fingers on the desktop. She hesitated for a moment, as if thinking of her abandoned identity, and dialed the missed call. The teacher over there doesn't have a good tone. How could you be such a mother? She doesn't even answer the phone. What time is it now? She's scared to cry when no one comes to pick up the child. Cui Rou. Forget it, let's assume it, I can't explain it clearly. Sorry for the delay, I'll be right back. The mountain is now at my house, you can come to my place to pick it up. The teacher gave the address and hung up. Cui Rou grabbed her hair, changed into clothes, took her phone, and left. Someone is knocking outside the door. Seeing her expression, she immediately became enthusiastic and scolded with a very bad attitude. All right, Cui Rou. You're not answering the phone even though you're at home. What do you mean, you? Pretending to be a saint in front of others, right? You're quite cheap. This man is Lu Ji, the agent of the live streaming union who has made many phone calls. He finally left behind a vulgar word. Cui Rou kicked towards his knee without hesitation. I heard a crisp sound from my knee bones. Lu Ji let out a painful cry and knelt down on one knee. You stink when you step on a horse. Before the following words could be shouted out, another knee strike struck. Now he knelt down with both legs, and Lu Ji's head was buzzing with pain. He couldn't believe it. Your mouth is so dirty, kneel down a little longer. Cui Rou lazily closed the door with her back and said, by the way, I'm telling you there's no surveillance at my doorstep. Then he walked past him, and Lu Ji was so angry that blood rushed towards his head. He was so angry that he wanted to stand up and reach out to grab her. But his knee was so painful that he couldn't get up for a moment. When she clenched her fist and lifted it in the void, it made his body instinctively shrink and dodge. Cui Rou sneered when she saw this. Counseling goods. She doesn't have time to teach people how to be civilized here, she has to pick up the children. Cui Rou. Don't think you can resist this once. If you offend the labor and management, or the company, just wait for you to sell your whole life. Lu Ji finally got up and rushed over to watch the moment the elevator door closed, shouting loudly. Cui Rou furrowed her brow. Her small face was delicate and tired, her almond eyes closed, and her thick black eyelashes flickered. Which union live streamed the signing of the cannibalistic contract. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Being coaxed by a child. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Being coaxed by a child. If you can't figure out the tricks behind it, you will be tricked by the brokerage company of this live streaming union. Many small internet celebrities have filled all the money they earn into this pitfall, not only lacking freedom, but also repeatedly being sucked into. If they want to terminate their contracts, they will also be heavily fined a huge amount of breach of contract. Cui Rou will definitely not let things develop like this, they must be resolved. There was a car in the underground parking lot, but someone smashed the window and punctured the tire. Cui Rou stood in the same place for a while. How many minor incidents are there? She took photos to provide evidence and then contacted the property management for investigation, but she didn't have time to report to the police. We need to go pick up the child. Cui Rou called a car and arrived at the teacher's residence. It was already very late. Kindergarten teacher Fong is very young, with long hair and a lot of energy, but seeing her tense expression, it seems that she can't stand it. As parents, you should pay more attention, okay? Children of this age actually understand everything. Many people do not value the fact that they will have many problems when they grow up, and it will be too late to manage them properly. Cui Rou nodded and said, Teacher Fang felt that she was a bit perfunctory, but her eyebrows still furrowed. Shan Shan has already had dinner and done homework at my house. He just fell asleep on the sofa now. You can take him home, she said. If there is anything in the future, please let the child know in advance and don't let them worry, thinking that the parents don't want him anymore. Teacher Fang asked her to enter the room, and when Cui Rou entered, she saw the child lying on her back on the sofa, asleep. The child wearing kindergarten clothes is a ball of dough, quiet and cute. Teacher Fang took off the thin sheet covering the child's body and said, "By the way, next week's family activity day, you can't be absent anymore. Summer vacation is coming soon, and I will be promoted to the senior class next semester, leaving more beautiful memories for my children." Cui Rou paused as she bent down to hug the child. Pinch mom. What harm has this caused? Not only do I wake up as a mother from a teenage girl, but I also have to take on the responsibility of being a mother. Beautiful memories are left for the little brat, while painful ones are left for herself. Very good. Cui Rou took a deep breath and picked up the child from the sofa. Her slender arms bulged with muscles, and she looked up at the teacher with a smile. Thank you for taking care of me, teacher. We're leaving, she said. Teacher Fang escorted her to the door, touched the child's head, and said solemnly, I hope you can listen to what I'm saying. Cui Rou looked at her without saying anything and nodded. What should I say? This child's situation is special. When the traveler met him in a remote town out of town, he was only 3 years old and looked like a beggar. He was so dirty that he squatted on the ground, picking up food next to the trash can. The useless old man who raised the child tied a thick chain around his neck, like a dog. The people around seem accustomed to it. The traveler couldn't bear to watch anymore and quietly took the child away. I dare not really speak up, afraid that the child will go back to that place. After all, some backward and ignorant places are illogical. Cui Rou thinks that the travelers who use her body to do tasks are actually a bit kind, but not many. As for why it was named Pingshan Mountain, where did the Ping surname come from? It turns out to be the name of the idol of the time traveler. She even pursued a star in a year, which is quite good. Cui Rou carried the child downstairs, and Teacher Fang lived in a staircase house on the 6th floor. Cui Rou descended to the 6th floor in one breath, feeling the little guy in her hand getting heavier and heavier. Do we really have to bear this heavy burden ourselves? While waiting for the car on the roadside, the child suddenly woke up. Under the dim night light, his big eyes blinked and he suddenly saw clearly. His big eyes lit up as he rubbed against her, and he joyfully extended his arms, hugging her neck, and let out a cute shout. Sister. Cui Rou's breath suddenly slowed down. Afraid of uttering a word, Mom. Fortunately, although the child is young, he knows that in private he can only call his sister. But being treated so affectionately, she still feels a bit uncomfortable. So he put the small ball down. Pingshan thought she was upset and held back his tears, wanting to hug her leg. He looked at her timidly, but dared not take any action. Cui Rou saw this and bent down, patting his head. 4 years old, right? Pingshan Mountain nodded with his watery eyes open. Cui Rou said, Don't try to please me. I won't hit or scold you. Laugh whenever you want and cry whenever you want. Just be a free child. Children seem to have experienced painful past experiences that ordinary people have not experienced, so they are very good at pleasing people's eyes. When he heard this, he might not understand. But the sister who can understand how to hold his hand is very soft and warm. Sister, I haven't seen you for several days. Where have you been? I went to the sea. Wow, are there big sharks in the sea? Do you have it? Is that scary? Did you see a shark, that's why you came back so late? I guess so. When I grow up in the future, I will tell the shark not to block my sister's way home. The child leaned against her leg and looked up at her with round, bright, and beautiful eyes. The car is parked on the roadside. Cui Rou suddenly felt that she had been coaxed by the child. She held the soft hand of the child and got into the car. On the way home, Cui Rou felt someone following behind her. As for who it is still unclear. Arrange Pingshan Mountain to go to bed. This child is not delicate and doesn't need to tell stories. He takes a shower and covers himself, and goes to bed as soon as the light is turned off. It's very worry-free. Cui Rou cooked it casually and ate it face to face. Then he hacked into the property management system of the high-end apartment, checked the surveillance, and found that the person who smashed her car was a tightly packed black-clothed person. I can't tell who it is. But the act of smashing the car shows resentment. Who hates me so much? Cui Rou sifted through her mind and found that there were many suspicious people, anyone could be. This place is not very safe for control. Even Lu Ji, the agent of the live streaming union, can enter and exit freely. If someone targets her, she is not afraid of anything, just afraid of involving the child. A 4-year-old child is so easy to handle. Cui Rou lowered her mind, pulled down the curtains around the room, and took out a pen and paper from the bookshelf. It's just ordinary paper and a brush. Using her blood as paint, draw symbols on paper. In an instant, within the character graphics, there was a fierce and spiritual animal hidden. Cui Rou threw down her pen, licked her bitten finger, and threw the paper into the air, summoning with concentration, tiger. Now. Then, in the midst of breaking through the sky, a fierce and majestic tiger landed with a roar, shocking the heavens and breaking rocks. Cui Rou was pleasantly surprised and succeeded. It's really feasible. Hurry up and make it shut up. Keep it down, it's disturbing the people. The fierce tiger nodded spiritually and came over to rub against her legs. Master. Cui Rou patted the tiger's head and, under her command, became smaller like a stuffed animal toy, then pinned it onto the zipper of the Pingshan backpack. Tomorrow, you will escort the child to school. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Variety Invitation Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Variety Invitation Plan. The tiger blinked and said, small task. Cui Rou tried another summoning, but it didn't work. In the game of the other world, she can summon all spiritual creatures in one go. Not yet here. At this moment, among the apartment owners. Do you hear me? It seems like there's a tiger's voice. Is it true? I thought I was dreaming. I was scared awake. Is it really a tiger? Are you joking? Who would be watching the animal world in the middle of the night? Cui Rou escorted Pingshan Mountain downstairs the next morning and instructed him to study well. Like a very kind old sister. Tiger hanging on the backpack. Wow, the owner is so gentle. Pingshan nodded obediently, touched the small pendant, and said in a milky voice, Sister, I had a dream last night that I became the king of the forest. I rode a tiger on the street. Do you think it's amazing, sister? Cui Rou lowered her head and smiled. Quite impressive. Dealing with the chattering children really requires patience. Although it's a bit perfunctory, the child is still quite happy. The kindergarten school bus has arrived, and she is taking the child onto the bus. Afterwards, I had breakfast downstairs and was stopped when I returned to the apartment. Or Lu Ji from a live streaming brokerage company. This time he was not alone, with 3 tall men by his side, wearing sunglasses that made it difficult to get along with. Cui Rou, where else can you hide? When Lu Ji saw her, he thought of the scene of being kicked last night and held his anger in his heart. Cui Rou yawned and stood still, lazily saying, I'm just standing here, why should I hide? Lu Ji frowned as he saw that she was not afraid at all. He said angrily, Do you know that those who know current affairs are heroes? Don't make the labor and management lose patience with you and just argue that it will not benefit you at all. Cui Rou turned her wrist and glanced lightly, just talking nonsense. You step on the horse. Lu Ji suddenly stopped talking, almost subconsciously, when he met her surly gaze. Unconsciously falling into a cold cave, breathing stops. I happen to have time to go to the company to chat. Cui Rou's eyes flickered and she turned her head disdainfully. Directly taking the lead, although Lu Ji felt that something was wrong with the whole person, it was also his goal, just afraid that she wouldn't sit down and chat. If you can sit down, you have to talk. At Huazhong Media Company, Cui Rou met directly with Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang had a big belly and a shrewd look in his eyes. Cui Rou, you have finally appeared. With such a big name now, isn't it that you have found someone else? Cui Rou, what kind of servant are you looking for? Do you want to give the money from terminating the contract to you for free? Mr. Wang's eyes sank and he said, what do you mean by that? Cui Rou said, anyway, I have a lot of debt, countless online scandals, and no character. If I don't care about it, I won't do anything. On the other hand, you can't make a penny. Wang couldn't have imagined that she would say such a thing. Cui Rou, I can't believe your lower limit can be so low. I learned from Mr. Wang. Mr. Wang slammed the table in anger and said, you. Cui Rou. Oh. It is impossible to intimidate people. Seeing her so calm, Mr. Wang calmed down and frowned. It seems that you are really prepared to come. What do you really want? Don't you want to get out of this circle? Cui Rou, at this point, what else can we do? It's either drinking or singing. It's like this internet celebrity is on a bad street, Mr. Wang, leaving some room is what makes a smart businessman, isn't it? Cui Rou knows this is a cannibalistic company, but it won't break down in a day or two, it will take time. So, we can't just leave some steps and just stick. Mr. Wang seemed to be getting to know her again, frowning and remaining silent for a while. Okay, since you're here, I'll give you a chance, he said. He pulled out one from a pile of documents and threw it over. A proposed invitation plan for a variety show. This is a heavyweight live variety show on Sanwan TV's summer break, and it is still in the talent selection stage. If you can seize this opportunity and bring along one of our artists, everything will be easy to say. Cui Rou flipped through the documents and said, did I hear that our company's storefront artist, Shi Qingqing, was rejected? Can we still add another one? Mr. Wang frowned and said, if it were that easy, I wouldn't let you try it. After this variety show, you can either terminate your contract or talk about future upgrades. Let's talk about it later. Cui Rou put down the document, propped her hand on the table, moved forward, and smiled, saying, Mr. Wang, be careful lately at night. I heard there's a rainy night killer. Mr. Wang sat in the chair with a heavy expression, and her gaze was once again delicate and innocent. And there was a demon hidden in that day. Startled and unable to move his mind, he felt his heart numb and stagnant. Cui Rou has already left. Lu Ji stood outside and saw her safe and sound, suspecting that he had misread her. Anyone who came out from the old fox must have been scared out of his mind. After all, the exorbitant penalty for breach of contract is oppressive and unbearable. Why is she still so calm? Pushing the door into the office, Mr. Wang finally took a breath. Urgently asked him, has there been a midnight homicide incident on social news recently? Lu Ji was puzzled for a moment and said, Mr. Wang, there are indeed several people who have been killed. They have been dismembered. It's really scary. Mr. Wang felt inexplicably scared and broke out in a cold sweat. This Cui Rou seems to have changed a person. Lu Ji gritted his teeth as he thought of being kicked last night. I'll just say she's arrogant. Did she get caught up in some new big shot, so she's not afraid of anything? I can't say for sure, it's not easy to mess with. So how did you talk to her? No matter how we negotiate, the contract is in our hands, and this money that has been drained of blood must also be earned back. Cui Rou found a coffee shop with internet access and carefully studied the live variety show on Sanwan channel. The reason is not to break away from the internet celebrity company, but to make money. After all, she has debts in her pocket. It's too hard to support a family and children. Because it is a platform project with a relatively large investment, there will be many people competing for it, and the competitive pressure will be relatively high. But she is familiar with this kind of variety show. Dear family isn't that the tricks she uses to play games. The family is neat and harmonious, uncovering the hidden fake family members and living their days sweetly and peacefully. She even wrote a complete supplementary plan for the game and personally handed her resume to the program's chief producer. 3 days later, he caught the attention of the producer and made an appointment with her. Meanwhile, Cui Rou received a phone call from Fu Chinxiao's assistant, indicating a response regarding engagement. Cui Rou, between the two, chose to work first. She temporarily recommended Mr. Fu, but instead made an appointment with the producer. In a decent restaurant, Cui Rou went upstairs into a private room, where 3 or 5 people looked over as she pushed the door in. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Dinner Party. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 8. Is it cool? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Is it cool? I haven't reconciled with you about last time. This time on my birthday, I don't want to see someone like you. Hurry up and get out of here. Her voice was sharp with anger. Almost everyone in the private room looked over. This includes siblings from the Jing family, siblings from the Fu family, and a group of young friends. Cui Rou looked at Jing Tong calmly in the face of various contemptuous and obviously unwelcome gazes. Don't worry, I didn't want to celebrate your birthday here. As he spoke, his gaze fell on Fu Chinxiao as he walked over. What did you call me for? Jing Tong frowned and wanted to scold him a few times. The revenge for slapping her last time has not been avenged yet. How many people are watching her joke? But it feels like the atmosphere is not right. Quickly looking towards Fu Chinxiao, who had walked past and maintained a distance, standing lazily and aloof, he stomped his feet and bit the corner of his mouth, Brother Chinxiao. But Fu Chinxiao didn't give her a glance, just looked at Cui Rou. Have we finished discussing the matter? His tone is neither cold nor indifferent, similar to when he talked on the ship before. But it clearly adds a bit of patience. Because the pitch-black gaze was fixed on her. This is rare for Fu Xiaolai, who is not close to women in the imperial capital. Everyone present was shocked. Cui Rou's reaction was completely different from her previous expression of wanting to pounce on Fu Xiao, almost done. Fu Chinxiao walked up to her, his pitch-black eyes calm as he took his suit jacket and said, I'll take you home. The first time I took the initiative to get so close to a woman. Cui Rou felt the scent that belonged to him, the tobacco scent mixed with the aroma of wine essence, and there was a faint and imperceptible herbal fragrance that seemed to be absent. A little hesitant, oh, good. Brother Chinxiao. Jing Tong quickly stopped him in disbelief and humbly said, Aren't you celebrating my birthday? Why are you going with this shameless woman? You. She spoke almost without hesitation and rushed towards him, tears streaming down her beautiful eyes. Fu Chinxiao frowned and his pitch-black and indifferent gaze swept over, making Jing Tong almost instinctively unable to stop his steps and afraid to approach easily. Cui Rou is my friend, please show some respect. Can. Jing Tong wanted to say more, but was grabbed by her brother Jing Fang. Jing Fang and Fu Chinxiao have always been young and have a good relationship. Knowing him would make it impossible for him to be interested in his sister, and even today he invited her to her birthday to save face. It's not good to keep pulling like this, so I apologize first, Chinxiao, my sister drinks too much and speaks without restraint. Don't worry. Fu Chinxiao didn't say much, he raised his chin and said, let's go. Cui Rou followed him out. But there was someone behind me who didn't mind the situation and loudly mocked the earth. Oh, don't you feel sad, Tong Tong. A small internet celebrity who works in the 18th tier is not a good person and has been slept to death, someone who can take a liking to such a bad woman doesn't just mean it's a broken pot and a broken lid. Isn't it just a group of people? You, don't be sad about that kind of person anymore. It's okay if Cui Rou doesn't hear. This is a mockery in front of you. It sounds so unpleasant, but you can't pretend to be deaf. It was Fu Qinxiao who openly mocked her and secretly mocked her. She turned her head and saw a man speaking, with a dog-like appearance and a proud expression on her face, but different from Fu Qinxiao's aloof demeanor toward strangers. This product is a frivolous and superior float that surpasses anyone. He is Fu Chong, the cousin of Fu Qinxiao and the son of his second uncle's family. Jingfang furrowed his brow and reached out to pat his shoulder, clearly displeased. What are you talking nonsense about, kid? Can you please calm down for my sister's birthday today? Fu Chong pushed away his hand and smiled diagonally at Cui Rou, full of disdain and provocation. Why, didn't labor and management say it's right? Is it enjoyable to ride with 10,000 people? He said vulgar words and laughed recklessly. Cui Rou took a few steps over, not even shaking forward, and decisively slapped her with a palm. With a loud bang, Fu Chong was slapped and dizzy, almost falling. Mud horse. In the lively birthday banquet private room, it was quiet. Cui Rou's dark apricot eyes were unblinking. A plain and gentle smile appeared on her face. Are you feeling good? She asked. Fu Chong never expected that this woman would dare to hit him, and with such a delicate and gentle appearance, she would strike so hard. How could the second young master of his Fu family be treated like this? In front of so many people, he is simply furious. Blood rushed towards his head, and he glared angrily, lifting his head to strangle the woman. Grass mud horse, you despicable woman. Unexpectedly, he lifted his head and received another slap. This time I fought even harder than the last time. Fu Chong was knocked unsteadily and stumbled backwards, almost falling to the ground, but was held up by someone. He usually carries thugs around and is used to being arrogant. Today, I was slapped twice by a woman like this, losing face and yelling angrily, someone. Kill this woman for me. Kill her. Give her a try. At this moment, Fu Qinxiao stood up and said something. He lit a cigarette and his pitch-black eyes glanced at Fu Chong's thugs, who were fierce but stopped in an instant, afraid to move even on the surface. Fu Qinxiao walked over coldly and stood in front of Fu Chong, looking at him from a high position with a cold tone. Brother, your mouth is so dirty, Cui Rou is just trying to discipline you for me. Mud horse labor has parents, it's not your turn to die with your parents. Fu Chong was furious, his veins bulging, and he looked up in anger. However, the towering person seemed to have lost patience and lifted his hand to grab his jaw, stuffing the cigarette he had lit into his open mouth. Can't you keep your mouth shut? Said casually. The scene of being so cold and ruthless surprised everyone present. Fu Chong's expression was even more twisted, his wide eyes staring at him were terrifying and painful. Fu Chong's sister, Fu Shuiyang, quickly came over to pull his arm, but was avoided by him. He begged, you quickly let him go. It's his cheap mouth. Let's just settle this matter this way, okay? Fu Qinxiao still grabbed his jaw with one hand, his eyes glaring fiercely. In the future, if I hear you say something you shouldn't say, don't even think about speaking, he said. Fu Chong nodded dumbfounded. Fu Qinxiao coldly and forcefully shook off his hand. Fu Chong fell to the ground, his face turning blue, and he vomited his cigarette in embarrassment. Cui Rou watched a lively scene between the brothers of the Fu family, who were being held hostage to her. The grudges between this wealthy family will inevitably cause trouble in the future. Fu Qinxiao wiped his hands with a handkerchief and walked up to Jingfang. His black eyes darkened and he said, I messed up your sister's birthday party today. I'll treat it as an apology. Jingfang shook his head and said, it's okay. If I buy more gifts to soothe her, it's you. Are you okay? End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Contract Agreement. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9 Contract Agreement. Everyone knows that Fu Qinxiao's second uncle, Fu Qirong, dotes on Fu Chong as his son. In front of so many people today, he used his precious son's mouth as an ashtray, and this account must have been recorded. Fu Qirong, on the other hand, is cunning and scheming. Not easy to deal with. So Jingfang may have some concerns. Fu Qinxiao raised his eyes and sneered, "It's okay. Let's go." When he said this, he looked at Cui Rou. Cui Rou and his lacquered black eyes met, and she always felt that this person was even darker than she had imagined. "Leave here." Cui Rou got into the car because Fu Qinxiao was not used to women approaching, so she sat in the front passenger seat. The space in the back seat belonged solely to Fu Qinxiao. The car was quiet for a moment, and no one spoke. The interior of the car is dark except for the bright dashboard. The street lights flickered in and out, giving Cui Rou a feeling of falling into a dark abyss. Fu Qinxiao should be like a person belonging to the darkness. The car came to a stop. Arrived at a private coffee shop. An old man dressed very gentlemanly came out to receive him, and he seemed to be very familiar with Fu Qinxiao. "Mr. Fu, or a cup of black coffee?" "What about this young lady?" Cui Rou sat down and said, "Ice orange juice." The old man smiled and looked very kind. "Okay, just a moment. The environment here is very good and quiet, with only them at the table, and it seems that only acquaintances are received." Fu Qinxiao looked over with dark eyes and said, "Are you going to participate in a variety show during the summer?" Cui Rou, "Well, there's this plan." Fu Qinxiao pondered, "There is still 1 month left, get engaged first." Cui Rou guessed that she had passed the test. Didn't she expect it to be so fast? "What is the standard for passing?" "The engagement and your recent performance." Cui Rou guessed that the main reason is that her society and family are simple, and at most she only spends a year as a demon. Compared to complex wealthy families, she is probably nothing. Moreover, engagement can be an important step in blocking the mouths of many people. But once engagement is the main focus, it's not easy for Ms. Li, as a mother, to get rid of it. Therefore, binding. But in reality, after finding this mother to recognize each other, they were already entangled and not trying to separate. It's better to just use each other like this. And she needs to leverage Fu Qinxiao's power to do something. It must be his ability. "I have said that the only requirement I agree to for engagement is that you can help me with something." Fu Qinxiao leaned slightly against the seat, with a lazy and indifferent posture. "Let's talk about it." "Cui Rou, I heard that the industries under your Fu family's chaebol are spread throughout the country, and there are also your industrial projects in a small town in Jiangqing. There is a welfare home over there that has also been acquired by you. It is expected to be demolished for other industrial construction, right?" Fu Qinxiao's eyebrows twitched slightly, as if thinking of something. "There's such a thing. Cui Rou, I believe you have investigated me and know that I came out of that welfare institution, which is the only home for many abandoned children, so I want you to stop the development there and keep the welfare home alive." Fu Qinxiao's eyes lit up slightly. "Do you know how much it's worth there?" Cui Rou's face was resolute. "As long as you stop developing and let the welfare institution survive, I will return the lost value to you." Fu Qinxiao took the coffee brought by Obwa and took a sip. "It's worth billions. I heard you're still in debt," he said. There is questioning in the tone. "Cui Rou, I will make it back." Fu Qinxiao's lips curved into a cold smile and he said, "I'm quite young, and my tone is quite strong." Cui Rou frowned and said, "Do you look down on people?" "Due to drinking a lot of alcohol, my young and plump cheeks turned slightly red, with long eyebrows and almond eyes, sparkling water, and a very fair and delicate appearance. But there was a strong sense of victory in those eyes. It is a contented confidence that does not yield to difficulties." Fu Qinxiao's gaze narrowed slightly and he said, "Not really. I promise you this. Ask the assistant to add a new entry to the contract and print it out. Take a look at the agreement, if there's no problem, just sign it. He added, the longest term of an engagement relationship is 2 years, and the agreement and contract will be terminated at the time, restoring freedom. As long as Cui Rou agrees to that condition, he can hold on to the former welfare home and the wishes of the dean's mother. Everything else doesn't matter. She looked at the contract, it was clear and without any trap words. So I signed it. Happy cooperation. She habitually reached out her hand. Fu Qinxiao lowered his eyes and glanced at her hand, but did not shake hands. The engagement will be held within these 2 weeks, and I will contact you to move into my house in advance. As for your child, they can also live together. Cui Rou thought that he did not have contact with women and withdrew her hand. I couldn't help but think of the medicinal scent I smelled when I got closer before, which is probably a kind of illness. As soon as I finished thinking, okay, contact me by phone. She drank a whole glass of ice orange juice and looked at the time. There's nothing else, I'll leave first, she said. Ober came over and said, wait. Cui Rou was surprised, Ober enthusiastically said, let someone take you back. It's not safe lately. Cui Rou remembered, oh, midnight killer. So, as a girl, you should be careful of your safety, said Obo. He said this to Fu Qinxiao next to him. Fu Qinxiao raised his eyebrows and said, Yu Jiang, let's bid farewell. On the way back, the radio is still reminding citizens to pay attention to safety. And the clue provider offered a reward of 100,000 yuan. Cui Rou thought for a moment and said, it's time to pay the card in 2 days. Why don't you give it a try? After she returned home, she saw that the child was not sleeping yet. Although she was tired to death, she waited for her with big eyes open. The cooking lady who had been hiring for a whole day saw her come back and collected the money, so she left. Cui Rou stepped forward and touched the child's head. Go to bed quickly, you still have to go to school tomorrow. Peng Shan sniffed his nose and asked in a milky voice, Sister, did you drink alcohol? Cui Rou sat on the side of the sofa, feeling that there was indeed a strong smell of alcohol on her body. I drank some, she said. She will take a shower later before going out. Observing the child's wrinkled face and watery black grape-like eyes, Sister, is it difficult to raise me? Have I become a burden to you? Cui Rou thought of herself, who lacked a sense of security when she was a child and was abused by her foster parents. She learned to be gentle like the dean's mother and said, who said that? We are family. I will definitely grow up quickly. I am not a useless child, I. As he spoke, his tearful eyes closed and he fell asleep like this. Cui Rou touched his head and carried him back to the room, covering him with a blanket. Gently wipe away the tears from the corners of the child's eyes with your fingers. Turning off the lights and walking out of the room, she shouted softly, Tiger. The tiger jumped off the backpack chain. Master, she said, rubbing against her hand, did anyone bully Pingshan Mountain? It's almost Parents' Day, and the little kids are arguing and saying they don't have a father or a mother, which makes them sad. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Call Uncle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Call Uncle. The little tiger scratched its head. If someone bullies a child, it can take action, but it won't be able to do so. Cui Rou fell silent for a moment. I understand. Since we have children, let's attend as parents. There's nothing to be afraid of. Master, what are you thinking? The little tiger tilted at Cui Rou's feet and looked up to ask. At this moment, the size is like a cat, even more gentle than a cat. Cui Rou's thoughts stopped and she reached out to smooth its fur. There's an operation at night. You need to find the nearest midnight killer. As for the location, I'll compare it with the existing information on the internet and mark it later. Please make a note of the suspicious person and come back to me. I need to find that person and receive a bounty. The little tiger was very excited and immediately stood up. Wow, okay, can you confirm the target to eat? This is much more interesting than taking care of children. Cui Rou reached out and patted its head. No way, this place doesn't like to eat. The little tiger was a bit disappointed and said, even the wicked can't do it. Cui Rou tugged at the corner of her mouth and said, there is a law here to judge. You must restrain yourself, otherwise I will take you back. I understand, I will definitely execute what the master says. The little tiger almost wanted to shout as a sign of loyalty. Caught by Cui Rou's gaze. I couldn't help but scream, and I had to wake up people on other floors. Cui Rou searched for information about the midnight killer on her computer, as well as various locations where the victims were thrown. The victims were all women playing in the nightclub. This killer is quite arrogant, and even though the whole city is on guard, he is still taking action. There will be new victims in almost a week. Cui Rou established several locations and then let the tiger take action. A night may not yield anything, but for a continuous period of time, it is not necessarily the case. What she summons is not an ordinary animal, but a high-level civilized creature awakened in spiritual power, with a strong sense of smell and action. She cannot summon other beasts yet. For actions like tonight, bats or hunting dogs have stronger ability to track their aura. Waiting for the news. Cui Rou took a shower and then went to bed. I'm too lazy to read mobile messages. Before dawn, the tiger returned, reduced its range, marked several locations, streets, as well as suspicious vehicles and people. Cui Rou asked it to rest for a while, and then it had to take action at night. After dawn, the little tiger transformed into a pendant and went to school with Pingshan Mountain. Cui Rou went to the Sanwentai building to discuss issues such as signing a variety show contract. The cooperation contract was quickly signed. The chief producer of the variety show is very optimistic about her, but the director doesn't understand. What do you really like about such a dark internet celebrity? If you want traffic, wouldn't it be better to find a celebrity with trending topics? Our variety show focuses on being a brain teaser. Without some brain teasers, it won't look good. Do you understand? The producer's words made the director somewhat enlightened. The scheming at the drinking party yesterday was not just a typical little internet celebrity. And there may be someone holding on behind it. Since the casting for the variety show has almost been decided, the director can only give up. On the night Cui Rou moved to Fu Chinxiao's place, the tiger gained something. We have reached the network collection stage. It's only the 5th night. Fu Chinxiao's large villa is a place where wealthy people live, with a beautiful geographical location, courtyard scenery, swimming pool facilities, and everything. Pingshan Mountain, carrying a small backpack, timidly followed behind Cui Rou. Cui Rou found that the butler was quite similar to Oh Bo from the CAFA that day. Guess it's just a pair of old brothers. Cui Rou followed the butler into the room and looked at the aloof man sitting in the hall drinking coffee. After thinking for a moment, she led Pingshan Mountain over and called out. Call uncle. Pingshan glanced at Cui Rou and mustered the courage to shout at the man, uncle. The voice is timid and low. A well-behaved and afraid appearance. Fu Chinxiao has no objection to Uncle Sheng. But when the child whispered to Cui Rou, she frowned. What are you calling her? Fu Chinxiao looked over in a cold voice and saw the child visibly shivering and looking extremely scared. He let out a dry cough and his expression slightly restrained. Forget it. His name is Pingshan Mountain, he is a very well-behaved child. Please take good care of him in the future. Cui Rou introduced the child in front of her and said, after I start a variety show, I hope my family can help me take care of some things. Fu Chinxiao raised his eyes, seemingly interested in the child's name, but it also flashed by. No problem. Ingbua, take them to the room. The room we live in here is very large, and the 2 rooms are adjacent, making it easy to take care of. Cui Rou glanced at the layout of the house and it seemed that Fu Chinxiao should be living on the 3rd floor. With such a large room and toys piled up in Pingshan Mountain, I was very excited and worried. Sister, is all of this true? Am I dreaming? He blinked his eyes, very confused. I'm afraid that what I have is a dream, and one day, I will return to the days when I was chained up. Cui Rou leaned down to touch the child's head and said, they are all real, and we will have them in the future. Peng Shanshan, I think Uncle Fu is a bit fierce, and I'm a bit afraid of him. Cui Rou smiled and said, imagine him as a little tiger. If we don't provoke him, he won't bite and won't be scary. Peng Shan tilted his head and imagined for a moment, then suddenly laughed happily. Indeed, I didn't provoke him and he became cute. Alright, go wash up and go to bed early. Cui Rou almost learned to be gentle and coaxed the child to sleep. At night, the entire villa fell silent. Cui Rou took the key and went downstairs, ready to go out. As a result, Fu Chenxiao also came downstairs and bumped into each other. Cui Rou was wearing a long suspender dress, with her long hair tied up, revealing her beautiful shoulders and neck. She wore light makeup and was fresh and charming. Dressed up like going on a date. This is in the middle of the night. After being swept by Fu Chenxiao's pitch-black gaze, Cui Rou was not embarrassed and said directly, I'll go out for a while. Fu Chenxiao, holding an empty coffee cup, walked to the coffee machine table and coldly reminded, it's not safe lately. Cui Rou, I know. Fu Chenxiao hesitated for a moment and said, let someone see you off. No need, I have a car. Cui Rou's car that was smashed by someone has been repaired, and she has locked down the person who smashed it. As long as that person stops moving, she has no intention of pursuing them. After all, it can also be considered as something that the traveler did before offending someone. One report is worth another. Fu Chenxiao didn't insist anymore. After all, he had even dismantled the bomb and was able to snatch a gun from Yu Zhang's hand, which was not a waste of time. Just a reminder, there's still a week left until the engagement banquet. You'd better make sure you're alive. On the surface, Fu Chang's people won't touch you. After all, I've already told the family about our relationship, but in the dark, if you slap him twice, he won't give up easily. Cui Rou nodded and said, I understand. She knew that someone was following privately. Then I'll go out. End of this chapter.